Okay, so I have been pretty happy, pretty satisfied with my A7 IV. It does exactly what I need it to do. And you guys have heard me say this before. I am just a photographer who makes YouTube videos about like photography and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll go out and I'll shoot uh, a wedding, or sometimes I will shoot an event, but I don't fancy myself like a cinematographer or anything like that, or a videographer or anything like that. And so this camera has been exactly what I thought it would be. It's been everything that I need. And most importantly, it's allowed me to do this. These talking heads, coming down into the studio and making these videos. Recently, someone said that like my production has been really good, and so that's all I needed to do. And so, and then as a photography camera, it's fantastic, right? There's a few things, but it does everything that I needed to do. And so, even as the A7 V kind of looms, I think it's probably going to come out in October or be announced in October, because that's been kind of the cycle of these hybrid cameras. Even as the looming release of that comes, I don't think that I'm going to upgrade this camera. It would take my doors being absolutely blown off for me to go out and upgrade. And I'm pretty sure about that. You guys know that I shoot with an A7R4, and I didn't upgrade to the A7R5, even though those had some pretty impressive upgrades. But yeah, I would have to get my doors blown off by an A7 V. But as I've been working on the long-term review of this A7 IV, I was forced to think like, oh, what would make me upgrade? What are some things that Sony would do or could do that would make me upgrade to an A7 V? And so I made a list. I got some stuff, and I thought that I would share it with you guys, and then hopefully we can have some conversations about it. And I would like to get through this fast, so let's get to it. First, we're going to talk about the body, the overall ergonomics of the camera, right? So number one is I would finally like to see Sony kind of flex their muscle with this rear screen here. A friend of mine has a Nikon Z50, and I was looking at that screen, and that screen is amazing. And I was thinking like that, and that's a camera that's less expensive, I think, than the A7 IV. And so I would love to see Sony just put a really good screen on the back of these cameras. You know what I mean? And so that's number one. And then with that screen, I want Sony to give us the whole like tilt down and then tilt out kind of screen that they have on the A7R5. That would be really cool, and you guys have kind of heard me talk about that before. On the A9 III, there is a custom button right here, like right there. And I want that. You can't have too many custom buttons. I know exactly what I would program to that custom button, and so I would like to have that custom button on the body. I would love to have an overall wider body, probably as wide as the Panasonic S5 II. I don't need it to be as chunky as, say, like an R6 II or Canon bodies at all. I just need it to be a little bit overall wider. I think it'll help to dissipate some of the heat that some people have been having. I've never had overheating issues with my camera, and I filmed most of these videos on it. I record for a long time every time I make one of these videos, and it's never overheated. I think I've had overheating warning like twice, but for the most part, I keep the screen away from the body. I keep the battery door and the card door open. And so anyway, I want the dual card slots, but I want it to be the one where you can put the Type A or the SD, simply because as I shoot more weddings, it becomes important to me that I shoot simultaneously two cards, just because I've had that thing. I've had that thing that happens in your head where it's just like, oh my gosh, am I getting this? I've had that happen to me. And so now I do want to be able to record simultaneously, you know, in the same codec. You know, I don't want to have to dumb down the codec for UHS, you know, to be able to, you know, shoot to both. And then right now I'm shooting, you know, all of my video to a Type A card, and then all of my photos to an SD card. I just want to be able to shoot, you know, the same, you know, two Type A cards. I just want to use two Type A cards. And then the last thing I would want them to change is right now on the dial that you can switch between video and photo, the S&Q is at the other end of photo. I want video to be at the other end, and I'd put S&Q in the middle. That way I can just switch it really quickly without thinking about it. I know that one end is photo, one end is video, and then if I wanted to shoot in S&Q, I would shoot in the middle. But here's a little secret. I've never shot in S&Q. I don't know. So that's what I would like to see happen to. Those are the changes that I would like to see happen to the body. Let's talk about photos. And there's just a couple things, because this camera's been great. I think the 33 megapixels is just enough. The images are fantastic. And so here are the three things that I would love to see them change. This first one is a non-starter. Like, if they don't improve this, then we don't talk about upgrading. Not like Sony cares about whether or not I upgrade. But you got to give me 15 frames per second in uncompressed RAW. None of this telling me that I can shoot at 10 frames per second, but then when I go to uncompressed RAW, it's like 7 or 8. I want to shoot 15 frames per second in uncompressed RAW. Like, I shouldn't have to dumb down the camera to use the camera, you know, in its best form. You know what I mean? It's infuriating that that happens. And so 15 frames per second, I got to be able to do that in burst mode. Number two, I would like a stacked sensor. I just want to shoot not even like fast-paced sports, you know what I mean? I just don't want, you know, things bending in my photos when they happen really quickly. And then this last thing is kind of a deal breaker, but I'm pretty sure they're going to add it, but I think it's really cool. And if Sony's watching this video, which they probably are, I want them to hear me say that I want this thing. So in the A7 II, you can change your markers in the camera to shoot in different aspect ratios. And so I guess it's like whatever it is by default, like 3x4 or something like that, whatever it is, I can't remember. But I want to be able to change my markers to 16:9 to be able to compose in 16:9. And I know that there's a lot of people who are going to say like, oh, you could just take the picture and then, you know, crop it and post. But no, something about having the markers and being able to compose the photo, seeing it makes it easier to kind of get everything right. And so one of the things that I've been really working on in my street photography, in my landscape photography, is like filming things. I'm trying to photograph things that could be like a scene out of like an establishing shot in a movie. And so being able to see those markers, you know, when I put the camera to my face, seems like it would be really cool. And I know that you can do it on the A7C. And I just want to be able to do it on my big camera if I were to upgrade to the A7 V. All right, so that's photo, right? That's the important stuff. Video. What do I want on a video? Reduce rolling shutter, of course. It's not super important, but I hear like that's one of the knocks about Sony cameras. I'm not out there doing crazy whip pans. I think we've talked about this before. Like, what are you guys doing? But I did shoot a reel one time where like a train was going by and you could absolutely see like it wasn't straight up and down. So just improve rolling shutter. Here's another deal breaker. This camera absolutely has to have 60 frames per second in video with no crop. As you guys know, I have been shooting most of my slow motion in 1080p at 120 frames per second, but I want to shoot it in 60 frames per second, 4K, with no crop. I mean, it's 2024. These cameras are getting more and more expensive. I want to be able to do that. So here's the next thing, and this is absolutely a deal breaker. I want to be able to shoot 4K 60, with no crop. I mean, it's 2024. These cameras are getting more and more expensive. Let's stop the cripple hammers. Just give us the 4K 60. You guys know that I've been shooting all of my slow-mo at 120 frames per second and 1080p, but you know what? I just think, like, if we're going to pay, you know, $2,800 for a camera, just give us the 4K 60 at least. You know what I mean? No crop. And then here's an interesting one. I want to shoot in 6K. I don't want the 8K. I want the 6K. I don't want the 6K downsample to 4K. I just want to be able to shoot in 6K with a reasonable file size, because I like to be able to crop in when I do these talking heads, and there is a visible difference in resolution when I crop in on 4K, and I think 6K would solve that problem. I think 8K is too much into the other direction. I don't think that my computer is fast enough to be able to edit through that footage, and I think that the file sizes for 8K are just crazy large. And so I would like to be able to shoot in 6K to see what that's like. And then the last thing is I want to be able to continue to use the touch features on the back of the screen when I attach a monitor. That's become really important as I start filming more and more things, right? You start filming like a bride, you know, walking down the aisle. You want to be able to lock that focus onto her and get that, you know, rock solid. But you can't do that if you have a monitor attached. And so that's really important. But that's everything. What would you guys like to see in a A7V, a refresh of this A7 IV? Iteration is boring. And then another thing that I don't care about is AI features. I don't care about any of that. Yeah, so what would you guys like to see? Let's talk about it down in the comment section, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.